I don't know what you're stuck in. It's all about change, Todd.
It's okay. It is working. Okay, there it goes. I already pushed live.
Okay. Let's see. I need to share this to my page.
Yeah, here, let me just go tag it.
Oh, there we are.
I mean, I'm going to tag it. I'm going to tag it anyway.
I don't know whether that works normally, but we'll see. Share now. There we are. I'll share it now.
Edit. And a. Okay. Boom.
Okay.
Boom. Yeah. All right. All right.
Yeah.
All right. God, what is it?
It's a very, very interesting time, Todd.
Isn't it? I know. My hair's falling out. I understand now that it's part of the process.
Well, my hair is growing thicker. My nails are growing quicker. Right.
Your hair is growing. Your hair is growing quicker.
It's thicker. My hair's growing thicker.
Is it?
My nails, seriously, my nails are growing quicker.
Are they
and
really?
More strong? Yeah. My physical body is changing all by itself, despite my best intentions. And I'm being serious now. There's all sorts of things. There's all sorts of things going on with my body that are very, very peculiar. And I'm starting to see things that aren't there, if you catch my drift. Yeah. I've got my eyes closed and suddenly I'm walking along a pathway, right, with my eyes closed. So there's all these weird things happening to me, which I don't really try and go into too much because I think that that's happening to everybody on the planet. Why have you frozen? You look like some sort of cyborg.
I'm not frozen on my end.
Oh, right.
I don't think
it's frozen here. I don't know what's going. Oh, they are. It's starting to move again.
Yeah, I thought it was. No, it's my signal. Oh, weird. It's weird. Okay, but we'll get through it. Let me just check it here. Let's see. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're good. So you're having.
I've got to. Someone's asking me to turn the lights off, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to turn these. Yeah, because I mean, somebody's asked me in a nice way. Rebecca Claire Williams, who I love, she loves my crown. Right there, it's off.
I can't handle this intense light. The light.
Yeah. Don't look into the light.
Bruce says psychedelic. Bruce is the Soulogy etymologist and linguist.
Entomologist? You mean like a termite? Words. Don't you think words are important at one level and completely unimportant at another level? Where I'm at the moment is I'm sort of done with words and I'm done with images and I'm done with labels. It's a bit like you because I do listen to what you say. And really, I just want to be in this space where there's this nothingness except feeling. It's just like I seem to be living my life now just from a feeling that's flowing from my heart, and whether that's my soul self navigating and guiding me through this intense, peculiar, strange time that we're living in. I think it probably is, because what I've been told is, and Todd, I don't know where this information comes from, I try to tend to not listen to what other people are saying as such. I do listen to everything, but I try not to latch on, you see. I try and be honest with myself and allow the information to come up and through rather than from outside of myself. I don't know whether that makes sense because, I want to sort of come to these feelings and decisions myself without being subtly influenced by anything that's going on outside of me, because I think I've allowed that all of my life, really. That sounded quite deep there. What?
I didn't know you were going to drop a bomb on me to start.
Neither did I. Well, I didn't see. This is what happens, isn't it? It just comes through.
I know.
Because I was talking to someone today, and there were thoughts coming in about this meeting up tonight and stuff. Why don't you say this? Why don't you say that? I'm thinking, hang on a second. That's almost like pre-planning. I don't want to do that, thanks. So whoever it is who's talking to me, probably me ego self, whatever that means, right? You know, I say, no, hang on. I'll just put me bum on a seat, open me gob. In the UK, that's mouth, you know, for the USA listeners and everybody else. Open me gob and see what comes out, almost as if my heart just expressing itself without any thought beforehand.
Yeah. You know, I saw a meme. It reminded me of you because it's humorous, but it was wise. And it said, no matter how high the throne, we all sit on our bottom. I started thinking about all the people over the years who told me about the great epiphanies they get when they're on the crown.
But that's it, because it's like a relaxation process, isn't it? You know, it's dumping all the crap to make space for new stuff to come in, isn't it? Really?
Oh, this is going to be a long one.
No, it's not. Tell. No, because no,
I love it. I'm just. I'm gonna get
it's like them two lovers that have been on recently. You know, them two lovers, right? You know, they all seem to get back to talking about, as you Americans politely say, poop. You know, poop. Right. So, and as you've just put on one of your memes, you know, you're not waiting to shift, you know, but we know what you mean. But no, seriously, what's come to me is you're free when you've gone beyond archetypes. You're free when you're living beyond symbols, you know, and you're free when you're beyond labels, because that's almost like anonymity. There's no label to it. And I believe that's the spiritual life is anonymous. It's anonymous. It's detached from all those hooks that try and get you in all the time, you know. So literally, you know, we're hooked in all the time by words, you know, and I can feel that happening now. It's almost like somebody's fishing with a word to try and hook you and engage you in some sort of energetic thing. And I think, you know, most of the time now I can feel it coming in and I sort of just breathe out and let it go, let it go, let it go.
Yeah. God, you're on fire, dude. Okay, so yeah, you know, that's really interesting because I see everybody's expansion, and part of it, which has been loud, and it's not a judgment. In fact, it's a very positive thing. Is you know, this the attachment to. Kind of like the attachment to I'm awake or look what I can do. And we've all been hit with it, you know, I mean, but it's like we got to show our ass before we come to grips with ourselves. And maybe that's why sitting on the crown is such a place of epiphany, because we are at our barest, you know, I mean, we are, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think, and also I think, for some reason, we've been, well, I'll talk about me. I've been ashamed of my physical body. I've been ashamed of it. You know, I've been ashamed of those areas, especially the root and the sacral regions. I've allowed people to sort of feed me with ideas of shame about my physical body, you know, and it's taken me many, many, many years, right, of letting bits of go of that. Right, to become completely happy with just walking around you know, naked, and you know, I'm being comfortable with it, because I used to feel so ashamed, you know, and I don't anymore, Todd. You know, it's something that I've had to. These are basically childhood ideas, right, of how we should be, and I've had to let go of all those, and I'm still letting go of stuff as it emerges, you know, and I think that that's what freedom is, really. So I'm quite happy now with my own physical body. The people around me aren't. You know, because I've got like a big belly and a small. No, don't say that. But you know, but you know, I'm even okay with that now. You know, because for a long time, you know, when you when you're doing that, as Shania said, when you're doing that, you know, comparing lightsabers. If you catch my drift, you know, right? Well, I know that your lightsaber is bigger than mine, and I don't care anymore, you know, because the battery's run out of yours, and it hasn't of mine.
Good God, this is like we're like 9 minutes and 54 seconds into this. Shanine says 9 minutes and the lightsabers are up. Shakti says, you are hot, Dr. Joe. You're hot.
Well, let's talk about sacred sexuality, shall we? Let's get right to it. You know, you see, Todd, I understand these things now. And looking back, I've sort of been led to this a long time. And, you know, we talk about sacred sexuality. To me, it's just an energetic process now. It's a process whereby you can detach from the belly button and allow the energy to rise further up the spinal column. I understand that now. But there's also other more subtle things. I mean, I've studied the Kama Sutra. I don't know whether you've heard of the Kama Sutra, but it's basically, it's a textbook of intimacy, real intimacy, and it's very much to do with breath work. I didn't know I was going to talk about this tonight, but it's about breath work, and it's going deeper and deeper and deeper through the coarse layers of the physical body and deeper into the energy body. You know, and I know that you've been recently talking about octahedrons, icosahedrons, dodecahedrons, and all that. I think more and more people are beginning to understand the complex nature of the forces that guide the evolution of the physical body. Right, Christ, this sounds like one of them their lectures tonight, doesn't it? But what I'm trying to say is, I think each of our souls are energetically structured, where those spheres of consciousness have got different depths and layers of influences that guide our moves and our sort of motivations. Can I carry on with this now? Because it sounds good.
Yes.
And so each individual soul is unique in itself, not special, Todd, not special. It's unique in its individual abilities if it can just allow itself, right, to be decluttered, and all those sort of shrouds and the muck of the ego that's been attached for years is now being cleansed so that the light of the soul can come through and express itself in its true and full brilliance. Jesus Christ, I feel like I'm back to being the Pope in Nomini Patris. I feel
You're
so the whole idea is, I don't think that we raise our vibration. I think it's the vibration that raises us. And that's what I think surrender is. Surrender means, go on then, big boy, have your way with me. I'm quite willing to hand over my free will choice and my body and all my cells. I'm quite happy to donate those to the cause. And to me, the cause is the next level of our evolution into God consciousness. Over to you, Todd. Follow that whole fruit.
Holy shiitake mushrooms. I think my video is slow, but my audio will be all right. God, you said a lot there. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I do know that I don't know anything. I'm still trying to take in this whole chicken and the egg thing with the sacred sexual energy. Well, it was interesting last night because we did well, we didn't do it. We actually we're going to have a date, you know, and and it's like, I don't even know what time it was. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning for me. So we recorded it because just for our personal, reasons, just to have, in case there was something audio or both that we might be interested in or go back and listen to. So anyway, we ended up going into, for the second time, into the what I would call the cosmic octahedron infrastructure of the new Earth, which was, I won't get into all of it, but part of it, there was a series of activations, and part of it was the sacred sexual energy. It was an upgrade or an activation to the sacred sexual energy in its higher form, achieved as a result, along with many other things, as a result of our completion, all of us, of the grid, the octahedron grid of the new Earth. And it's, my feeling was, my understanding was, and I still don't have my arms around it, I wrapped around it, was that this reality, which is actually from the original template or let's just say the highest template that was available to us when we all came into these incarnations. But now we have, since we've completed this grid, there is going to be a higher and better form of it. That's how the universe works, right? And so really what's the short of that is that we're going to start seeing it. And I think it goes back to what you're saying, because it's not to take anything away from the Kama Sutra, which I am familiar with, you know, and it's a tantra. It's just the newer and better version. It's the upgrade, right? It's the upgrade. And I think what you're saying is accurate. Like, there's not a book that's going to come with it. It's just this surrender, or this beyond surrender that you're talking about, which I don't know if it's I don't know how you said that a minute ago. Are we surrendering to it, or are we creating? I mean, I don't know how that works, but I do understand what you're saying. And I think that there's we're going to see more and more of that. And what is part of that going to be? I believe what it's going to be, and it's already started, is that what we have all looked at, you know, as a result of the way this was set up and the distortion of the sexual energy, we're as a whole going to start moving away. We already have, from performance, you know, erections, physical orgasms, you know, all the programs that go along with the distorted sexual energy. I think you're going to see more and more of us, of the collective, moving away from that. And as a result, you're going to see some serious magic coming through the sacred sexual energy that we surrender to. So yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think as well is to bring the 7 chakras into this. I think a complete sort of, I think if the 7 chakras are balanced and we're in physical and intimate relationship with somebody else, and we become aware of the breathing, I think it's in the breathing technique that actually it's almost like a lock on. It's almost like 7 portals lock onto one another. And then that's the full hit then. And with 2 energies coming in, I honestly believe that is the sacred union, both physically and etherically. I think that's what it's about. It's when the light body and the physical body work in total harmony. And that's when we achieve full and open total cosmic consciousness. That's when, you know, when you get those things where everything goes quiet and you understand completely what it's all about, you know. And I think that's coming to people more and more. And, you know, the sex thing was purposely brought about, especially in Catholicism, as a dirty act, and it was all, you know, guilt-ridden and all that sort of thing. That was obviously part of the mechanism to keep people disempowered. It's quite clear to see that now. So, I mean, what I'm saying is about my own understanding is, and it's taken a long, long time to be rid of the programs and the guilt trips and everything that goes with that. Right. The more that happens, the more energy flows in as you sort of de-obstruct, and then you can start to get more information. And for anybody who does things like Qigong and Tai Chi, I mean, you don't need to be in a physical relationship to understand this, because really it's about, as you know, I mean, I'm sort of teaching my grandmother to suck eggs here, but this is about the sacred union of the masculine and the feminine principles within the individual. And at that perfect resonance, when they're working in coherence and cooperation, that's when this corridor, golden child, column, middle pillar opens up. And I think then you can surrender more and more. And the more that you do that, more space is created for more cosmic consciousness to come in, which gives you more understanding. I'm nearly finished now. To take actions, right? Inspired actions then. Because it's not that the fight stops, but the fight, the emotional reaction that causes people to go forward on the defensive stops. It's just the actions taken then in a much clearer and a more straightforward way. You know, so yeah, there's a lot going on the planet at the moment, and I don't really get involved in it, to be honest with you, Todd. You know, because, you know, I don't want to fight anybody or anything. But if somebody's trying to kill me, I might have to defend myself. You know, that's the whole point. I'm not going to start the ball rolling. But if someone's having a go at me, I'm big enough and ugly enough, as my dad would say, right, to look after myself, you know, and to help if I need to protect those around me, then I've got no problem doing that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I want to say something on the breathing. we were talking to somebody, and I think it was a session. We did a session. We do sessions with couples, you know, when they come into the field. And so we were doing a session with them, Harry Escamos. And so we were talking about that, and you were just bringing up breathing. Like, I've never went, other than meditation, you know, 25, 30 years plus ago, I would use a breathing technique to go into my nightly meditation. But what I noticed what came up in this conversation with this couple we're doing the session with, in remembering some of the sacred sexual interludes on the path of what you're talking about, where our light bodies were obviously becoming participants in some type of integration of the physical and the non-physical, which in moments we have reached, right? Now, what I'm saying is that what I noticed and what I told this couple was that in recalling it, was that this was not conscious, that my breathing altered dramatically, that there was some kind of association innate within me. And I just noticed that my breathing became really long inhales, hold, exhales. But I never planned it. I wasn't consciously trying to do it. But there seemed to be some type of, and I'm going to use these words and not to be confused with the old nomenclature of distorted sex. But there was so in this occurrence, or in these occurrences, even when we were just had our hands together, but also up to, and we've talked about this in the past, let's just say missionary position for 45 plus minutes, no movement. There was some type of connection to the virility, to the stamina, to the blood flow, and to the, I would have to say, like the Kundalini energy. So there's something about the breath that for me just occurred in some type of innate remembrance. And then the other thing that you're bringing up is, we often, I think we've always kind of like associated the sexual encounter or the intimate encounter, that it all starts and stops there. Like it begins and it ends, and you go on about your business. But there is a lasting effect to this energy that you're talking about that can be reached in other ways, individually, like through Tai Chi, like you're talking about. But it goes forth with you. And I was laughing a minute ago, just a second ago, when you started talking about that, because it happened to me this morning, right? Like, we obviously had a very powerful night last night. We ended up sharing that video, and it was a very powerful thing. There was no anything that looked like our intimacy, even though we were on camera, from where we came from, all of us. It was just the atmosphere of the whole session, if you will. And so this morning, I think I went to bed at 7:30 or something like that in the morning, and so this would have been around maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which would have been what, 4.5, 5 hours later. And I wake up, and the what I can only describe is this, and this again is not to be confused with the old paradigm or any of our perspectives about what I'm talking about, but the amount of sacred sexual energy that was in my body. And I'm not talking about just my lingam. I'm talking about from my toes to the top of my head. And I'm laying there. Now, my physical body, the human, is like tired, I'm tired, literally. I'm going, oh my God, thank God I've only got one today. And, and so, but I guess my light body, which is, at least living within my physical vessel for more and more extended periods of time, or somehow activated again last night through what Morgan and I shared, was just on fire, dude. And I'm dead tired, but I'm looking down at myself thinking this hasn't happened since I was 17 years old. You know what I mean? I mean, seriously, I'm not trying to be funny. And so it went on from there, and I'm not going to go into detail, but because I still don't understand it all, but there was a physical response to my body that was not an orgasm. It was something like that. And there was physical evidence. I knew I was not imagining things because my physical body had no sleep. It was very tired and really didn't want to get out of bed, but yet it's showing these physical characteristics of, you know, something else. And so I'm like, wow. And so there's no coincidences that you bring that up. And you talk about how you've studied this stuff for years. And I mean, did you ever think that you would see the reality of this coming into our experience?
No, Todd, I mean, even today, I still got no idea what's going on. And that's the truth. You know, I mean, people come to me and they ask me what's going on. What do I need to do? And I have to say to most people, I've got no idea. I have to just go from one breath at a time. Because I think the universe, it's like, if you like, my guardian angel, right? Or my light body or my soul or my car or whatever you want to call this thing. That's like this supervisor. I think that's the thing that can see in the distance and basically see things on their way. Where little Joe in human, he can only see a very, very small picture, right? And I think, you know, I have to sort of go into my heart and just trust that this supervisor is guiding me. So that's what I'm really listening to all the time is, you know, I'm trying to look for very subtle cues in movement that comes from within me. I don't know whether that makes sense. I'm sure it does. But I think what happened to me is when I had my spiritual awakening, it was probably, you know, people ask me, when did you have your spiritual awakening? Well, I think it was 1981 when it really opened up. And then it closed down again for a while. But the worst part of my life was in 1987 in this harmonic convergence, you know. And that's when there was so much information streaming into me. I would be running and trying to smack my head against the wall to knock myself out because I just couldn't handle stuff. I don't know whether you heard me then because you froze for a bit.
No, I hear everything. I'm hearing everything.
Yeah, okay. So I have a sense of, I know what's happening, you know. But then the other part of me is I've got no idea. So I'm always in that sort of dynamic of know everything, know nothing, know everything, know nothing. So when I'm in that sort of frame of mind, I have to dip in my heart and try and sense a feeling. It's almost like, I call it a magneto-electric effect, because I think we've been bound in electromagnetism. And I think what actually happening now is the sacred feminine energy is waking us all up. And people are having even spontaneous Kundalini episodes, right? But it's a magnetic feeling. I can only describe how I feel it. And it's almost like the feminine magnetism, almost like a charismatic energy, is sort of resetting the balance and actually sending more nurturing and more straightforward messages now to the masculine to say, look, big boy, you've had your way for 30,000 years now. And, you know, you've done a good job, son, but it's time now to get back in line. And I've got some information here that might be useful. So they're forming a relationship. But as I've said to you many times, I think the feminine's leading the way now in a subtle way and supplying information to the masculine who needs to go out now and actually take the action. I think the masculine is called the ergotropic, and that means to do the work or get action done. The feminine is called trophotropic, which is a nurturing, it's a visceral, it's a caring energy. So I think almost like the feminine's the backseat driver. It's like in real life, that, Todd, isn't it? But you know, the feminine's in the back seat. Yeah, but the feminine's in the back seat saying, "ER, lover, ER, darling, you know, ER, love, just turn left here and we'll stop off for a bite to eat and all that." So there's a much more sort of flowing, coherent driving of this vehicle. You know, I don't know whether this is making any sense, but
no, it makes sense. It's actually a good analogy. I do think that that the car got stopped, and because of the radical deconstruction of the masculine, which is primarily seen in the male incarnate, has become kind of a fast track, fast and furious, kind of like what you described in your own awakening in 81, or that period in 81, 87, when you're having all that information come in. I'm watching it happen with the brothers, and I think the car got stopped. She said, "Let me drive for a little bit." So, and Morgan has said that for years, that there's going to be a period of time, but actually I think that's what's happened. And I think you're right. I think what happens is that masculine energy in all of us does drive the car, not because they're in control, because that's the role, because they're the ones that actually go out and create it, right? And the she being that energy of the she, is the imaginer, is the creator, or the creation, that says, "Hey, what about this?" And then, okay, let me go make it happen, is the masculine. But yeah, that, and what you said about the subtle or not expansion of the mother goddess, or the divine feminine energy within all of us, is creating many, many changes in all of our bodies. So very soon now, we'll be releasing a new product from the Soulogy store, and they'll be called Soulogy Adult Diapers. Because of the spontaneous Kundalini that's been initiated by the expanding divine feminine within all of us.
It's good for your skin, though. It does. It's very, very good for your skin, because it redresses the balance. If you've had dry skin, it can lubricate it a bit, or vice versa. So it's all about balance, though, Todd. It's all about balance.
I shouldn't have given you.
No, Todd. I didn't mean, because I can read minds now as well. I didn't mean how you're interpreting that in your mind, right? So. This is what I've realized as well, is that it's all about rebalancing. Mm-hmm. And in order to rebalance, the ego mind thinks it knows what to do. So it's almost like scales, right? And the ego thinks, "Oh, I'll have to do that." So it jumps from one pan of the scale into the other, and it starts doing that then. And it thinks, "Well, hang on a second, I mustn't have got that right. I'll jump back on the other side," you see. So there's never, ever any balance there. The way to get to balance is to go beyond that and go up to the third eye center, where we're actually witnessing it. And then automatically what happens then, the balance is reset then naturally. Because I honestly believe there's no thinking involved in the rebalancing process. This is all about feeling. And somebody put up before is, on the notes, you have to be careful what you open up and what you allow in. Well, I don't believe that anymore. That's an old paradigm to me, because I believe if I open up totally surrender to this power that's greater than me, that is me at one level, but I don't get into that. I'm here on the 3D world trying to work this out. So I hand it over totally, right? And I say, "Look, you can have my choice. You can have, use me as you see fit. I'm going to trust you now totally. So don't be putting me in any shite unless it's part of my soul's development." And I have to go with that. And just this point is, if I get a slight emotional disturbance, it's a signal, right? It's a signal to stop, to listen in, and try and listen for some intuitive or inspirational guidance, and then to act upon that. That's how I live my whole life now. I just give myself the one day at a time. Yeah. And sometimes it's just 1 minute at a time, and then I try and feel my way through that. Now, rightly or wrongly, Todd, that's the way I do it. That mightn't work for anybody else. Right. But all I'm doing is honestly sharing my experience of what works for me, at least at the moment, and just going on through that process. And how do I feel in myself? Most of the time, I'm completely open and relaxed. I feel emotionally calm, and my mind is crystal clear most of the time. And sometimes it isn't.
Well, this is interesting, because this falls in line with something that's been building really for 10 years in me, in my communion with the you, me, we, and it. And it's really on point now. It's come to the surface in a big way in the last couple of weeks, and it's along the lines of let's just say what freedom is, what sovereignty is, what the I am is, and where we're all at, because I'm all about boots on the ground. I'm all about, well, that's all great, but what does that mean to the human part of us? And so what I'm talking about, and this is actually, I've actually converged or encountered others at the synchronistic moment sequentially that tells me I'm on the right track. Now, what I'm talking about is who the fuck is talking to me?
Exactly.
Who is this? Now, I've had the luxury of laying next to Morgan, hands held, connecting. She's 95% of the time the channel, and listening to, and she has, like we all do, she has, because she's been doing this for years and years and years, she has different aspects that will step forth. Now, they don't say, like I'd say sometimes, well, who is that? She'll say, what does it matter? Because you can feel the benevolence, you can feel the alignment, like you talk about feeling. And I totally agree with you. We could even stop the conversation and just say everybody feel their way, because that's really what's happening. And that is that feminine, I think. But anyway, so, I've understood, and we've talked about this, I had a couple of years of downloads early on about the galactic, really memories of the Galactic War, the great galactic wars. And then they kind of went away, and then life went on. And so what I'd been getting to, and what I'd become to understand, is that each one of these aspects that are of a galactic star family species, or star system, they all have different specialties. They all have agendas, and not to use that word with a bad connotation, but this is what they know. Now, one thing that they all have in common is they don't have the empathy that we do. They don't have the emotions that we do, and therefore they don't understand. So I have picked this up and actually seen people talk about it, including Alicia Brachet, when she was on a couple of weeks ago. She had this conversation with a mantis who was in her room, who was facilitating part of her function here. And I won't get into the story. It's a great show. A couple of weeks ago, Alicia Brachet, and so she says to the mantid, hey, I'm in. And we've all said that. We're in, But what about the emotional quotient? What about and they said, well, we didn't figure that in. Well, now I understand more than ever that the emotions are the superpower of the human being. And within that fact, within that reality, is the potential of the human experience, and therefore the offering of new code to the universe. Now, what's happening, in my opinion, is that we are becoming responsible, conscious creators through our own internal work, through getting in touch with ourselves and our feelings, and learning to take this massive energy that no other species has, these emotions that have run wild and roughshod, and we've learned to get in touch with them and not run from them. And now this is an alchemic process that no book was written for, that we are writing in the present moment. So what am I saying? To my aspects, I am saying I will have a say here. Yeah. You will not run roughshod over me because of your own unconsciousness, because of your own inability to understand and empathize of what it's like to be a human being. Now, we came down here, and we are going to, obviously, you comprise me as I comprise you. But in this moment, I am that. So I'm not here to return to the original blueprint. And I'm not here to raise my frequency up to and only to your frequency. I understand you're my galactic aspects, and I understand that you're the facilitators of this ascension, but I am here to raise my frequency and that of my brothers and sisters above all frequencies that have pre-existed prior to coming in, up to the above the Akashic, if you will.
Yep.
And I understand, and if you look at what people have channeled, that we are healing, or we're bringing to a higher alignment all timelines and dimensions. So never underestimate the work that you're doing on yourself, because this is raising our frequency, not just for the earth, but for that which comprises us. Okay? So it may sound like a little blasphemy, but I'm on point. The human being is on point. And thank you for the code and all the information and the projects, because we're all doing multiple projects. But when it gets down and the rubber meets the road, this internal transformation, this internal alchemy, this conscious and responsible and badass conversion of emotion into this sacred sexual energy that you're talking about, and into creation. This is our offering. This is why we're here. This is the cherry on the cake. And just to give you one last example, there are many accounts, and if you tap in, you'll know this is true. We all know that our energy has been siphoned. Okay, this is by design. There is no dark and light and all that, but energies have been siphoned by galactic species and others. Okay, now what were they siphoning and how was it being done? Well, we know this: conflict, division, separation, extreme emotions. This was their food. This was their sustenance. And just the energy, just the unbridled emotions as we have experienced and were and generators of in our past before we were awakened to this level. Just a handful of people on this earth, you could take that unbridled energy and you could run entire planets.
Yeah.
Okay. So think about that. Now, this is again, I think some people may say it's blasphemous, but am I saying that we're better than? No, obviously not. There is no hierarchy. But what I am saying is we are the newest and best technology in motion. We are the cosmic orgasm. We are past the point of conception. The spark of creation has occurred, and we are all basically fractals of this massive force that in itself is creation, the latest creation. And so I think that's all tied together. And I think this sacred sexual energy that you're talking about is the physical / non-physical integration in the flesh, and I think we're going to see more and more of it.
I think you're quite right. I agree with everything that you've said. I've recently sunk deep enough now to come to a place where, see, I've talked to you about this before, and it doesn't leave me alone. So there must be some truth in it, but it's not fully clear in my mind yet. But I feel that the heart is representative. It's the Christ center, and from that Christ center, via the 12 cranial nerves, right, they represent the 12 disciples or skills or disciplines or intelligence or pockets of prodigiousness or whatever you want to call it. They represent all the aspects that are available now to every human being on the planet. Okay, and I think that the Christ represents the 13th dimension, around which are these 12 different elements or aspects, each with a different frequency. I think that if you sit in your heart center and you practice this coherent breathing, I think what actually happens is then, if you sink deep enough and pay attention to it, you can almost feel where the obstructions are. Now, the idea is that we, our ego selves, don't need to do anything there, because it's the ego obstructions, because of faulty logic and misdirected instinct, right? That's what's caused the obstructions. So as we feel the pain of the obstruction, because it's still an attachment, we can then stop and go, oh, hang on, what's that? And you might get taken back to 5 years of age when you stole a sweet out of your brother's locker or something like that, and you felt guilty about it. It's almost like to see that and to realize, oh, maybe I should have told him that. Do you see what I mean? Just that's a small example. But then, because you've seen that then, and you've admitted it and accepted it, if it's an easy one, right, it just dissipates then, and then the energy gets through a bit further, so it comes back online. So we're becoming more empowered because the energy is actually flowing more. And when the energy flows more, it's that increases our vibration. Do you see what I mean? We don't have to do anything other than see it. Now, there's some more difficult ones where we've got to take actions. So, for example, you might have told a big whopping lie to somebody. You would then see it and say, oh, look, I told them a lie. And then you get another little tug to say, yeah, you've got to phone them up now and say to them, I was lying there. I'm sorry, right? This is the truth of it. And then, of course, the ego, which is the little child, doesn't want to be caught out. It goes, ooh, do I have to? But then the bigger push is coming through now to say, yes, son, or yes, daughter, yes, you do have to, because that's the step that you need to take to become more honest, more authentic. And then when you've done this, it will free that person, because at a very, very deep psychic level, you've been attached to that person because of this false sort of synthetic scenario. You know, I mentioned the phrase to you many times, you're only as sick as your secrets. And those secrets to me are those repressed, suppressed, false memories, if you like, that need to be truthified. The worst part is when you clean your own act up, then you get involved with the collective unconscious or consciousness then, and you have to start cleaning up everybody else's stuff as well, you know. So let me just tell you what I found out about emotions. Emotion, energy for action. Okay, energy for motion. What are emotions? Well, emotions are generated from the interaction of instincts, and there are basically four prime instincts. It's the instinct for personal security, so that's a physical thing, you know, where you can stand on your own 2 feet, and that's associated with your adrenal glands. Okay, that's the first thing, because adrenaline is the most powerful hormone that sets you up for fight and flight if you want to defend yourself. Okay, so that's the first one. The next instinct that comes in are the gonads, you know, the sex ones. Okay, and so that's the next instinct, the instinct for sex. The next one that comes in is to do with the solar plexus and the pancreas, and that's all about energy production and basically glucose metabolism. And, you know, so there's, excuse me, but the fourth one is about self-esteem. And this is where we move from the lower heart to the higher heart, if we can get out of the third dimension. I'll just explain this. It seems to be coming out. What's the third dimension, really? It's society. And we're either listening to the herd instinct, and there's no criticism here, it's just my understanding of it. We're listening externally to all the social cues that are being given to us. And there's a part of us that starts to become rebellious and say, hang on a second, this is not working for me. But you try and escape, right? But what actually happens is you tell people, but they drag you back down into the herd then. And they almost like say to you, well, if you're going to go your own way, we're no longer having anything to do with us. Now, that's a powerful instinct, the social one. What will they think of me? That's kept me trapped for years and years and years and years. And Todd, that's a hard one. But if you're a gross people pleaser and somebody asks you for a favor and you can't say no, then you're trapped in the social instinct of what will they think of me if I say no? Because it really reflects that you've got none of your own self-esteem or self-worth. So the fourth instinct is about self-worth and self-esteem. So those four instincts, right, are smacking hell out of each other all the time and causing emotional disturbance in us. It's only when those are free and rotating properly, as the chakras go, you know, in that, when they're free, then the power comes online where you can go, oh, hang on a second, I'm going to do my own thing here now. Oh, if you do that, I don't care what you think anymore. What I think is more important, and I'm going to start going with my higher heart or deeper soul connections and make my own way. It's like a lecture, this, but all I'm saying is, Todd, how do you get to that? You surrender, you tap on your heart and you say, look, heart, I'm not quite sure what's going on here. But from now on, I'm going to try and relax, listen into how you're guiding me, and I'm going to try and take the actions on that there. There we are.
Yeah. You know, this is something that, you know, of course, in the daily reviews and shared experience with Morgan, and she seems to get things early. There seems to be waves of collective thresholds that we're all crossing. There seems to be like a flavor of the month, or now maybe it's a flavor of the week, and it looks like from where I'm sitting that what you're talking about has shown its face in September. And what I'm talking about, and again, I go back to like, what's that look like? First of all, the heart speaks to us now louder and louder through how our body feels, right? Like we're getting it. The body's going, hey, I've been talking all along. And so what you're talking about, and what many have talked about is, how do you even get in touch with yourself? Because I mean, how the hell could we run a marathon if we can't even, we're still crawling, right? So it looks like collectively part of what's happened is, in a collective manner, there's been kind of let's just say, gone on to the next grade 2 or 3 times. So what I'm saying is the body's gotten louder. A lot of people talked about that this year. Now, what are we talking about? We're talking about moment by moment, like you were talking about at the top of the show. I'm just approaching this moment by moment, right? Because you're grabbing all the low-hanging fruit by not rushing through and being present. Now, what's occurring is that through the human interactions that we have every day, all day long, we're starting to see the trees, right? We're starting not just to run through it. So what does this mean? It means, you mentioned overgiving. There's overtaking. There's, accepting things because it's been our pattern, but we're now analyzing things. It's Stockholm Syndrome. Okay. Now, I'm really putting more emphasis on this in the way we interact. Now, I stopped, I'm just give you this as an example. It's not about me. About 3 or 4 months ago, after a lot of tug and war, because I was like everybody else working on myself. This probably started mid-June and kind of tapered off just toward the end of August. I just stopped answering messages totally. I've talked about this on the show over the years, is what, that whole challenge. But when I knew I was coming back into it, I literally didn't even look at my inbox and had to look at the emails, but I didn't answer unless I absolutely had to. So what's the short of it? The short of it is, I've gone back into it, and I don't believe I'm the only one. I believe it's a collective thing. I'm starting to step into life with this unknown and new method. And that method is to be as honest and direct as I can be. For instance, I had a guy, I don't want to give anything away. I had somebody approach me about something that they had come out with. They have built a pretty good sized platform very quickly. And I read it and I took it in and I just wrote back, no, thank you. I wish you the very best always. Now, I could not have done that, even as direct as I was. He's as blunt as I could have been back then. But what I'm trying to say is, there's only good to be gained from being direct and straightforward, even if the answer is I don't know or whatever that may be. And I've been using that consciously over the past few days, and I had to take a couple of days off. But I've been going through literally hundreds of messages and emails, and I'm not just answering the ones where people want to be on the show. I'm answering every single one of them. Complete strangers that send a video, whatever the case is. And I'm just being as honest, and it's not a perfect thing, but I can see how this works. I can feel how it works. And I think this is what we've gotten to. And really underneath it all, be it in these personal interactions or in what's really the same thing that we all are exposed to or presented with on the world stage. Let's just say that. But I can really see this is literal ascension, literal growing up, real time. Human is the hero, boots on the ground. I owe it to myself to do what's right for me. If you offer me, a bowl of cherries, and I don't like cherries, I just say, Joe, thank you, but no thanks.
Yeah.
Do I have to tell you I don't like cherries? Do I have to start making up little white lie frequencies to tiptoe around? No. And look, guys, telepathy's coming on full blown. You just said I can read minds now. I get it because it's happening. So if telepathy's the order of the day, why don't we help telepathy and help ourselves and do what really is the most loving thing we could do, which is just to be straight about it. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not as painful as we think.
No.
And I think you said this earlier in your own experience, which is the more I do it, and these aren't your exact words, but your energy was, the more I do it, the easier it gets. Right. And so, who would have thought that ascending boils down to the most basic human functions? And this is what I was talking about earlier. This is what our beloved galactic star family, universal, everything doesn't know, because they haven't done it. And if they've dropped in and got a dose of it for a week or a month, but we've been here full time 24/7, and this is the gold. So, my reminder to myself is just be honest about it. And it's created, a little bit of silent, but telepathic misalignment with people. But I can see, and I've already experienced it, where it's coming back. Now, this includes, and I'll just add this last piece, and I mentioned this on a solo yesterday. I reached out to a very, very prominent person in these communities. I'm talking for years. We had a little conflict a couple of years ago. But something inside of me had been what you're talking about, that heart, that nudging, that poking, and it was a very, it was a very intense encounter. And of course, we both, without even speaking, understand from the higher perspective. But I reached out to them and I just said, how are you? You've come into my field. I just want to check on you. I know you're doing well. I received a response that was just as cordial, just as wounded, just as, I'm not saying that I wasn't totally honest, but I didn't bring up anything. I'm letting the energy speak for itself. And I received the same type of thing. Also unblocked people. Because it's either now or later, right? Yeah. It's either now or later. So, and again, who would have thought that these little bitty things would be what ascension is? But think about it. What is it that the galactics don't know? What new code? We're not here just to, a playground university. I agree with that. But I believe we're here at least with the potential to create new universal code. And that makes even more sense because this is one planet that's been seeded by the whole kit and caboodle, right? So, I'm having a newfound respect, even for me, who's been the human's biggest cheerleader. I'm just like blown away. We're fucking badasses. And we just now got out of the exhibition season, and the real game is on. And it's pretty fascinating.
I couldn't agree more, mate. And I think, isn't it so simple? And yet we've made it so complicated, really. It's complex. We know that. But it doesn't have to be complicated. I think I do a thing called simplifying the complexity of life, you know.
Mm.
And it is about simplicity, is that if I'm feeling emotionally disturbed, I know this now, I've known it for a long time. If I have an emotional disturbance within me, there's something I have to do. Right. I'm not expecting other people to change, because I did that all my life, and I would manipulate them in order to change in the way that I wanted them to make me feel better. Right. Now it's about taking the right action. That's what makes me feel better and clearer now. And, you know, it's like you've just said there. If somebody keeps coming into my mind, right, I'll say to my heart, why are they back in? And you might get, do you remember that, Joe? Well, you've both been holding a thing in your deeper unconscious or whatever that just needs clarification. And like you did, you reached out to this person, right? And it's almost like it's not an olive branch as such. It's just a clarification step, really. That's the way I see it, really. You know, so I mean, and Todd, you know, I'm learning as I go along as well. And you know what, you know, and if I make a mistake, this is what I can do now. I can go back and say, look, I've made a mistake there. I apologize. And I really mean it now. Because it's only the little lad inside, isn't it? Why do we tell lies, Todd? Why do we tell lies? Because we tell lies because we're afraid of being told off. That's a childish point of view, right? But that's still deep within us, you know. And that I was brilliant. I mean, I was a bloody fantastic liar, right? Like Billy Liar when I was on the drink. When I was on the drink, you know, I'd look at your face, I'd change my story, and then you'd be nodding then. And I know then that I'd just convinced you to see my side of the story. You know, it's like that's what narcissists do, you know. And I'm not saying that I was a narcissist, but I was in drink. I was a sort of secondary narcissist.
I'm still a narcissist.
Yeah, but I am. I mean,
You know?
loads of people are going through this narcissist empath thing, rebalancing thing. But to admit that you're both sides of these things, and it depends which way the wind's blowing and what day of the week it is, you know. And that the narcissism is more of a head job with me. This comes in, you know what I mean? Oh, you know, and the empath sides, well, ooh, you know, so one's a feminine, one's a masculine. I feel it in me, and then I can almost like let go of both sides, give myself a little shake, and allow them to get back together again. And that's what I'm learning, you know. So we don't want to be told off. And people would say to me, you know, what are you feeling? You know, and I tell them my true feelings, and they go, oh, you don't want to be feeling like that. So you stop telling people how you're feeling. You stop being truthful because somebody's criticized you when you've just opened your heart to them. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying for everybody to open up their chests and reveal everything, right? I'm saying be cautious. Sense, allow your heart to guide you who you can open up to or who you can't. Because if you open up to somebody who doesn't understand or is very critical or judging, it's like an anemone, isn't it? You know, you see those anemones in the sea, right? And they open up and they're flowing around like that. And another fish comes along and it goes and sucks itself back into its shell.
I thought you said it's like an enema.
No. See, you can't help that because your mind is so poop-shooted and all that. You know, this is very symbolic that you always get down to that side of things in that very, very low dimension.
But it has the same thing as that sea enema thing. I mean, no, but it's a. But yeah, I was making a joke, but it actually fit.
All right.
But well, yeah, this is
that joke fell flat then, Todd.
I know it did. I'm not a good jokester, but no, this is real. You know, you can, you know, okay, first of all, every one of us is a narcissist. Okay. You cannot be in this realm and not be a narcissist. And if you are 0.0001% of a narcissist, you're still a narcissist because this is an all or nothing proposition. This realm that we all created in this perfect design is extreme, the most extreme polar realm that's been. And in order, and look, the programming has been, and I keep saying this lately, is that it's a Stockholm Syndrome. You know, every relationship we've had is Stockholm Syndrome. The behavior that you were talking about, accepting things that compromise your soul because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, or you just do it because it's a habit. This is Stockholm Syndrome. You know, look, you know, I did a deal yesterday. I don't get much hate mail and I don't get much negative comments, but I said on this solo thing, it was on YouTube. Somebody came back because I said I'm not an American, and they came back and said, and I never answer comments, and I didn't answer this one, but my point is this: Stockholm Syndrome. The guy comes back and he says, "You don't want to be an American, really? Who's going to take care of you when you get old? Who's going to?" And going down the list of what this supposed country is doing for me, like, dude, you're watching the wrong platform here. You need to go watch 9/11 videos and JFK conspiracy videos and to see what's really happening here. But you know what I mean? I mean, it's cognitive dissonance, and we've all been a part of it. And often we talk about this in the past in regard to social issues, but it's in our relationship with each other where it is fully in our face, and also close enough to us that we can actually work with it, because it is raw material, alchemic material. It's pliable, and we can work with it. And that's what we've all done. We've all done inner work, and whether we see the evidence happening as quick as we might like to, as within without. And I'm absolutely convinced that we are knee deep now in this new consciousness, this total. It's not even close. Like what we've gotten over the last few days is you could take a golf ball and compare it to the earth. The golf ball is all the functionality and ways and means of where we come from. And when this grid got fully lit up, it ushered us into what we thought was going to be a golden new grid around this golf ball. Is actually this giant, in proportion, Earth-sized planet, playground, Akashic living library, okay, that has this not just this resolution or alignment or balance. It actually has this thing that's, by analogy, as from this golf ball to the size of this new earth grid, it has this whole myriad and just endless number of new programs made available by the transformational material that we created, which had never been created before because no one ever done it before. Nobody ever came down and figured out that we were enslaved really within our own minds by our emotions, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we have done that. It's created new raw material. The universe has taken that material. It's new, gone into the alchemic laboratory, created new templates for not just the earth and us, but for everyone. And so here we get to play with this stuff in the physical form, which is the gift of all gifts. And now we can look at things like, am I going to live to be 800 years old? Is my hair, I heard somebody say that earlier, they said their hair is falling out too. Now, I've heard this from quite a few people. I've heard also that this is where we stored all of this BS, right? But this person that was on here earlier said, but the crazy thing is it's growing back and it's thicker. And mine's doing some weird stuff too. The color looks like it's the gray. The gray's falling out, and there's more black. I mean, so in other words, we're going to be allowed, or we've been afforded the opportunity because of what we've done to challenge the most extreme delusions of the separation of anything, in this case, physical and non-physical. So I look to be here hundreds of years. I look to see. I don't think we need med beds. I think we are the med beds, and I think we're going to be seeing serious evidence before the end of the year of individuals that are doing some, 6 months ago would have been some freaky shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I agree, mate. And like you just said about the med bed thing, I can see where that comes from. And I'm being fed all the time, as you know, with this almost like futuristic medical physics information.
Mm.
You know, and they give me words like chromatooptogenetics. And I have to ask them then. And when I say them, just these different aspects that are feeding me with this information. I don't get into all that. It's just like, these are the thoughts that seem to be coming to me. Tell me what it means, you know. And I got chromatic. Well, there's a chromatic scale on the piano that's got 12 notes on it, and it's almost like talking to me like duh, 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 thicko, right? And also chromatic means to do with light as well. So it's all about the frequencies of sound and light working together to actually cleanse all this stuff around, to allow the soul to come through and play its own unique sort of orchestration that will fit in perfectly and harmonize with each individual other soul. That's also, so it's creating a cleaner sort of orchestral piece, you know. And that's how I see it. I see it in terms, and to go back to the energy thing, you're right. In my view, we can dip in right to the source, and then that can clean everything for us and open all the gates. And I think when we're open and flowing and creating, I think that that's what true health is, that there's no illness. I mean, people have talked about these things before, you know, is it Louise Hay? You can heal your life and stuff like that. I read that 30 years ago and I thought, what a load of bollocks. You know what, Todd? Todd, I believe in that wholeheartedly today.
Absolutely.
You know, and I can see, you know, there was another book I read about 25 years ago by somebody called Richard Gerber, and it was called Vibrational Medicine. And I couldn't put it down. I was thinking, I don't really understand what this is about, but it's fascinating to me, you know, like the things where the difference between a frog and a salamander. If you chop a frog's leg off, that's the end of it, you know, it's lost its leg. But if you chop a salamander's leg off, it can regrow it as well. I'm thinking, how does that work, you know? And then it got into all these etheric formative forces, the platonic solids, and how they work then to actually create and materialize the physical body at birth. And there's all those different star vibrations that come in that represent the lesson that the soul has come here to learn. It's all about, you know, it to me, it's about surrendering to source and just sitting back and watching your own motion picture of your own life, how it's resetting itself into this magnificence. Christ almighty, I don't know where this is coming from, but it's just about getting out of the way, Todd, and allowing yourself to be done to by you.
Yeah. There's so much information that's being shared now. And I was corresponding with a friend of mine that again, this individual's been out long time ago. We're talking 10 plus years ago, early platforms, very well known. It's kind of stepped in the background now, but still very much tuned in. And we just happened to connect. And, you know, I was telling them, well, we were discussing something along the lines of what I was talking about earlier about, I guess, in essence, and in fact, this was the first time I'd actually heard it from another person. And so I knew that it was important, which is that we're actually raising our, I mean, to say that we're going back to because this has been said, I've said it, a lot of people said it, you know, going back to the original blueprint, original template. And I've said, you know, from my understanding is that that's where we lift off from, that we're actually going to expand these templates. So saying that we're raising the frequency above the galactics is the same thing. Okay. It all makes sense. But I was explaining, you know, just giving them some of the information that I received, which was very similar. But I said, but there's another thing happening. And it started to happen last month, which was when Morgan came out with, we need to do these stories. We need to have these that are not known to come on the show and tell their hero's journey. And I went, wow. Yeah. Especially women, because they've been the ones not speaking, and we all understand why and all that. And I thought, well, you know, that makes a lot of sense, because that's what Soulogy always has been. You know, Soulogy was started out, I guess, in for all intents and purposes, the story of my own hero's journey, but not after it was done, as it was happening. So now you have this whole influx of this feminine energy that's coming out, and what I was telling my friend was that is the real virus. That's because it's only been 5 weeks, and the stories that have come out, and literally I have just from this past month, just at the 5 or 6 different places I received messages and emails, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 175, and they're all carrying the same frequency. I don't know if you'd be interested, but I have a story. And it's like, oh, that's it. So this is the element, and now within that expression, okay, there is this sacred wisdom, and I'll give you an example. One comes on and starts to spill her guts, and this is Alicia Brachet, a good friend of mine, and I didn't really catch it at first. But when her eyes started to tear up, I thought, oh, wait a minute, Todd, dumbass, you're missing something. What's going on here? She starts to tell a story for the first time about what can only be defined as immaculate conception, galactic facilitation, and the depths that it had reached into her, how real it was and is. And I thought, whoa, I respect everybody's reality. I absolutely believe her. What I didn't know is that it's happened to many, many, many women. Then the next thing you know, we have this beautiful lady, Emmanuel from Mexico, who goes through the same thing in detail at the Mayan pyramid, has a divine ceremony with the deity that's Jesus in their culture, has a child inexplicably. The child lives for 2.5 years, has all these messages. She's cool as a cucumber, a few tears, telling the story. Then I get another one. Then I'm talking to another lady, and she's like, yeah, that happened to me. So what I'm trying to say is as they're stepping up through the conveyance of their individual story from an emotional intelligence, not only do we get that code of that pure, spontaneous, raw, overused word, authentic, but we also get this sacred wisdom of how things work. Now imagine, just a quick example to close it out. This is an example. Alicia then goes to a conference in Australia, and she gets up and talks about this, shaking in her boots. 200 women, 10 women walked up to her after the conference and said, it's happened to me too. Do they understand it all? No. Are they cool with it all? No. But when a woman tells a story about a mantid coming into her room and materializing and saying, you're doing a great job, this is what's happening, you're okay, don't worry about it. And she says, wait one fucking moment, pal. What about the emotional part of it? What about the impact on me? And he says, well, we didn't figure that in because we don't know about it. Well, you're fucking going to. And that's what I feel like's happening. That the human thought, oh, well, we're going to get to this point and we're going to be saved, or we're going to be in heaven, or we're going to be in nirvana, and everything's going to be okay. The carrot on the fucking stick. But it's not that. We're actually leading the charge here. And all those things that brought us to this point, which comprise us, are going to benefit and come into a higher alignment due to the energy that I just described in her story and so many others, and yours too. Every single one of us. So, this is mind-blowing. That's what I told my friend, the one I was referring to earlier, that I reacquainted. I said, this is literally mind-blowing. And to your point, and I'll give it back to you. What you said at the beginning of the show, we could have just stopped it right there, because you said, Todd, I'm no longer looking even at tomorrow. However you said it, you said, I'm literally going moment by moment by moment, because there is so much there in each moment. And then you hear people now say, the downloads are coming in so fast, I don't even know what's happening. Yeah. Like, and to your point again, just surrender and know that it's part of you now, right? Know that it's turned on, right?
It's the surrender, Todd, that I found. It creates the space for the processing to occur in a more even way. I think that's the thing. We can't stop the information coming in now. No. That's flying in more and more and more. And, it's intelligent light, isn't it? I call it invisible light, because it's beyond our sort of visible spectrum that we can see. But all this information is coming in. I know loads of people who are cracking up now. They're just cracking up because they can't handle it all. And so they're getting on to me, and I'm just explaining to them about the breathing technique, the relaxation, and not trying to understand it. And somebody told me a long time ago, Joe, there's 3 levels of sort of knowing, if you like. There's the known, what you already know. There's the unknown that you can find out about. And then there's the unknowable. And at the moment, there's a lot of stuff that's unknowable to the human being. So that's where the acceptance comes in. I don't know. I don't need to know. I'm going to have to trust that these aspects that are guiding me can see more clearly, but they need me to experience the whole process. So I've come to this sort of, and whatever it is that I'm talking to or feeling my way through, I've said to them, you need me and I need you. We're on an equal footing here, right? So I'm down here doing the work. So just feed it through, and I'll try and follow the instructions that are being given to me. But this is an even thing, because otherwise, Todd, how can you be free? How can you have free will choice if you feel that there's something more, higher, better, and all that? This is a collaboration, a cooperation amongst equals, whether they be extraterrestrial, archangels, angels, dominions, and all that sort of business. We're all in this together because this is bigger than just Mother Earth. This is a great big sort of universal and beyond universal cooperation that's going on. I honestly feel it's that big. And we here on Mother Earth, as individual sort of holons, if you like, in this a big holistic thing, that we've got an important role to play if we listen to our heart and go deeper and allow our soul to guide us through, So that's where I'm up to.
Yeah. And think about this. See, this is what you're describing to me. Like, again, to take a part or an aspect of what we're actually seeing, touching, through our sensitivities as a human. So if you think about something like this, the feminine voice has been suppressed in this realm. And we can talk about all the BS and the stories, but that's occurred, and now it's expanding. Why would it stop at the patriarchal?
Yeah.
That voice that is in all of us, that has been suppressed in all of us, because if it hadn't been, we wouldn't be talking about this overgiving and overtaking in our human interactions and the imbalances in our relationships. So why would it stop there? So why is Todd asking questions of those that speak to me that are part of me? Because I am an equal, I am a sovereign, and I have the right to do it. So this does go all the way. And again, I firmly believe that this is new code. And, it's kind of like this. I got to the point where, through my experience, and this is very, I'm saying in the last 3 months, and it was getting there. And I said, now, wait a minute. So what we have here, team, and I say this with all honor, love, and respect and reverence, you didn't ask permission, but now you're asking for forgiveness. So I understand your perfect imperfection because I'm just like you. You have strengths I don't, but I do too. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed as I feel best through my heart, in my relationship with my brothers and sisters, and with you. Okay? So you might just say that what goes around comes around. You can give me all the information. I welcome it, but it does not define me, and it does not put me, into a corner or paint me in a box. I'm going to take this living Akashic and what you've provided with me, and I'm going to proceed forth, with the highest intention that I am love, right? And if you want to call that not asking for permission and leaving the reservation, then I will do as you did, and I will ask for forgiveness once I conquer this mother, So, it never changes. It's the same thing every time. And I guess, the most profound thing to me is the fact that we're not just, it's not just words anymore. We're not just bringing into alignment ourselves in the collective in this realm. It is in universal entirety. And I think as the days go on, we're going to realize just how important and how unique and special the experience of learning to alchemize our emotions, funneling them into what is our sacred sexuality, which is our creative seed, which is that cosmic orgasm that brings new universes and new earths, or new planets, new everything. We're going to be blown away. That's where we gain our utmost respect from the universal family. For all the things they might have said, oh, humans are slow and they just don't get it. Hey, that's a bunch of bullshit. We're getting it done, and we're not going to stop. The cosmic fire hose has been turned on, and nothing's going to stop it.
I agree, mate. I think we're doing a jolly wonderful job. And that's how I feel. And at the end of the day, this is what I say to myself. You did all right there, son. Good night. Yeah. End of story. I don't go into any analysis. I don't think about thinking. I don't do any spot check or anything now. Yeah. I just feel, is my heart open and flowing? And you know what, Todd? I put my head on the pillow and I've gone. I've just gone. Now, that's a miracle. Because I could never, I'd put my head on the pillow, million miles an hour. Yeah. I'd get asleep because I'd be physically exhausted. I wake up at 2 a.m, absolutely knackered, right? It was horrendous. But now, funnily enough, though, the dreams I'm having, when I come out of the dream, I don't know which is the reality. Do you know that one? The dreams are so real. Yeah. I don't know whether I've come back into that one or whether I'm living in this one or what, And so it's like, it's bizarre, mate. But, I just accept it all now because I can't work it out. I get to find out what it's all about 3 months after it's happened by looking backwards and going, that's what this is about. And the one thing I've stopped doing mostly is I've stopped projecting expectations on how I think it's going to turn out, because generally speaking, it's nothing like I ever expected.
Not that smart.
No. And that's why predictions, I can't do predictions. I don't listen to predictions. I don't. It's like people when they do, this is just my view, right? The prediction thing, it's a bit like people saying, and there's this energy coming in, like you've shared before, there's this energy coming. That makes no difference to me. It doesn't make any difference. If it's going to be a low energy or a high energy, I still have to deal with what's happening in the moment. So it makes no odds to me. Somebody described it, it's like describing the water while everybody's drowning. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, I'm not waving, I'm drowning, and that's the thing. So to me, it's all become very practical is, what do I have to do now? And then someone will say to me, oh, it's not about doing, it's about being. And I think, okay, that's fair enough. I understand what you're saying. But my view is very practical. Sometimes I have to do in order for my being to grow,
Well, I think I think you're right. I think you have to do in order to even get a grip on what it is to be. You can't just be, you've got to do. And this is another thing that I see that we've overlooked. okay, which is we gave it a try.
Yeah.
Okay. We gave it a try. Nobody came here because somebody sent them to a prison planet because they were a convict somewhere else or a punishment. Nobody came here. They were offered, and we exercised free will, and not everybody was given that opportunity. And you said something else a minute ago that was really funny, and I can't remember what it was because I just can't. But it was I was gonna give you props because during this period of time, which a lot of people were in solitude, which I want to just say, honor about June 15 to, let's say, August 15. There were several times when, and I'm going to say, I'm talking a dozen, which is a lot in 60 days, maybe even 20, because it was a very intense purging for everyone, and everyone I know agrees with that. But there were several times, and I was, of course, here alone. Morgan's back in Australia, post Soulogy Fest, and there were several times where it was so freaking intense and multifaceted in the sense that it was emotion, it was the body, big time, like palpitations and all that stuff, vertigo, and all headaches. I would just. I got to tell you this. I would sit on the couch, and I followed your advice. I put my hand on my heart, literally, and I've never done it before, and I don't know if I'll ever do it again. But in this period of time, I just put my hand on my heart and I just breathe, because, first of all, and I've known this, since back in my 20s, as I'm focusing on my breathing, I can't think about shit. I'm just thinking about my breathing. And in a matter of a minute to 4, 5, 6 minutes, I'm good. Good enough to get up off the couch and try to go function. So, and again, the paradox, the irony of the most human-esque things having the grandest and biggest and largest gold to offer. Be it shadow work, zero pointing, doing what I just described, interacting with conscious intention, opening those doors, making those phone calls to apologize. I mean, whatever. But to think that those things are the most powerful, universally impacted, energetic forces that we can actually create, and it's not the woo-woo, that gives me the utmost respect and comfort and pride of being here. So all from putting my hand on my heart and breathing.
Last thing before I go, the mantra is that I've developed. It's if you breathe around 6 breaths per minute. So that's in, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop. Now, it's very difficult if you're already breathing from 12 to 15 breaths per minute. So you have to try to go from 12 maybe to 9 until you become comfortable with it. There's no point in being sort of forcing it at all. So just knock it down. And when you get around to about 6 breaths per minute, that's when this sacred union comes in of both sides. The yin and the yang of the nervous system coincide with one another and start to operate in coherence. Okay, so most people know that now, but the little trick is, is to breathe in the light and breathe out the shite. That's it. Todd.
I know. Listen, this is what I know. I had a past life memory. Okay. It was a past life cosmic memory. And you're going to remember this. This is, you're probably going to have to lay down after this and keep your hands off your beautiful wife and just lay down, put your both hands on your heart. And I'm going to say, you might want to take it down to like 3 breaths in a minute. But I had this strong memory. It was in the, I think they call it the Bloody Angel Tavern, somewhere between the Milky Way and the Andromeda Galaxy. It's a big bar, a celestial bar, and you and I would sit there night after night after night, and and drink and snort angel's dust and take shots of archangelic potions and tell these stories. But yeah, that was tell the jokes, and you were the joke master. But yeah, so breathe in the light and breathe out
in the
shout.
light. Yeah. So you can allow it's like put your hand on your heart, focus on the palm of your hand, and as you breathe in, just imagine a cleansing energies going in. Seriously, and permeating and percolating through every cell of your body. It's collecting all the shit that you've sort of accumulated over time, and as you breathe out, you give it back to the universe for balance to take place. Todd, I'm not joking now. I know it sounds funny, but
no. I like the rhyme. No. I like the rhyme. That's what I was talking about. See, now I want to one up you. You know, I know I'm lit because I handled my shit.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't use shite. We don't use shite here, so that's a new word for me.
Okay. Well, there you go, son. We'll have to go now because I'm causing all sorts of trouble because people want to go to bed and all that. So I'm going.
Well, tell your beautiful wife we say hello, third eye kiss, and see you next month.
Yeah. And my love and my regards to your good lady. And I'll speak to you again soon.
All right, brother. You take care. Thank you, everybody.
God bless.